Euthanasia. Obviously, there was a bill that was being discussed in the Parliament in the UK not long ago.
Yeah.
Obviously, the largest gathering of Islamic gathering in the UK. Within Islam, such a thing is very strongly discouraged. In fact,
it's prohibited. Yeah.
Prohibited. And then I often interact with people who would say things like, "Hey, look, we get that part of it, but there's people who are really suffering."
Yeah.
And how do you reconcile that?
I fully agree that we should be reducing suffering. I just don't think we should be reducing life to do it. We shouldn't be.
Palliative?
Palliative means, for instance, people when they're at the end of their life. It's about reducing suffering and it's about improving their quality of life as much as possible.
The XP2, the Extraordinary People podcast. Just type that in on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Great content coming out. Around the world in 80 days, around the world, doxing capes, around the world, Marsac Bain, around the world, we bathe in apes, around the world, stay at home.
As you've probably seen me talk about before, last year in 2025, I went to the largest Islamic gathering in the UK in the summer, and it's coming up again in 2026. Here is Umar Nasser, a psychiatrist and one of the panelists of Rational Religion. Very interesting guy, who I interviewed, and we spoke about euthanasia, Shutter Island, and other such topics. He has been involved in research, as far as I know, for a long time and is a very, very knowledgeable guy. Check out our interesting interview and what he thinks in terms of palliative.
People podcast. I'm here with Umar.
Extraordinary people.
Yeah, he's definitely extraordinary.
Aspirational.
Well, no, for sure. Umar, thank you so much for your time. Pleasure to be here with you today. I've been obviously introducing the Jalsa to the viewers and people who might not know what this whole thing is about. I know you from a variety of different places, but I also know you as a psychiatrist, as a guy who's really interested in research, who does a variety of different things. Umar, how did you get into psychiatry?
So I was at med school and I didn't even barely know what mental health was, and I had my psychiatry placement, and the first day of it I was extremely scared and I hated it because I was afraid of all the patients on the ward, and I was very disturbed, and I went back to see my friend and I said, "Dude, I'm never doing psychiatry." But the second day I went to the ward again. I got over my fears, which were probably largely irrational. I think it was more fear of the unknown, and just I had never been in that environment. Sat down with patients in a ward, in the ward rounds, and I was hearing their stories, and I realized, these are some of the most unwell patients I've ever met. More so than the physical ones, because they had, in many cases, lost their sense of self, lost their identity, and were wrapped up in unusual thoughts. So I realized then, it would actually be, it's a very noble thing to help them, but also B, I was like, what is going on here? Like, I need to understand what actually causes someone to believe a paranoid conspiracy, for instance,
I have Mudabbir Khalid, I believe?
Yes, yeah.
We had a whole interesting discussion about this because he has he's worked on wards and stuff, and we were talking about the whole idea of... Yeah, Umar, bro, I think the one thing that... there's so much. We're a bit limited for time, as we both know. Shutter Island. Do you think Leo was crazy in the end, or had he?
No, people. I think a lot of people do get the real ending. I don't know sure we've ever discussed this, but it's he definitely realizes, right? He definitely realizes what's going on. That's why he says it's better to. I don't know. I can't remember the line, but he says that one line very poignantly because he realizes that he can't live the way he is.
But he doesn't. Because I'm trying to figure out. He doesn't kill himself. He just takes out a part of his brain, right?
Yeah. So he doesn't want to live consciously, knowing what he's done.
Right. Escapism.
Yes, most psych patients don't get. It's not representative of most, right? No. but that's a great movie.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. Okay, rapid fire. Euthanasia. Obviously, there was a bill that was being discussed in the Parliament in the UK not long ago.
Yeah.
What do you? We're obviously at the largest gathering of Islamic gathering in the UK. Within Islam, such a thing is very strongly discouraged. In fact,
it's prohibited. Yeah.
Prohibited. And then I often interact with people who would say things like, "Hey, look, we get that part of it, but there's people who are really suffering."
Yeah.
And how do you reconcile that?
I fully agree that we should be reducing suffering. I just don't think we should be reducing life to do it. We shouldn't be eliminating someone's life in order to eliminate their suffering. Palliative medicine is a whole massive branch of medicine.
What does it mean, palliative?
Palliative means, for instance, people when they're at the end of their life. It's about reducing suffering, and it's about improving their quality of life as much as possible. Control pain to whatever extent you can, have good psychological care, have good physical health care. These are things we should do, but I think taking someone's life is a red line, and that no one should go across. There are lots of cases within the Netherlands which are really concerning. There are lots of cases within Canada that are really concerning, even about depressed people who get euthanized essentially. So I think it's unconscionable. I will certainly never take part of it in any respect, God willing. Yeah, I don't think it's right. It's not healthcare. Causing people and ending people's lives. There's a word for that. Ending people's lives is. I find a struggle to call it healthcare.
Do you think? I mean, if we put our beliefs to one side for a moment, do you think you're able to have that outlook of it being unconscionable because you probably know like other ways to deal with it? But for the layman, like if we see someone in pain, we're gonna just be like, how do we square with this?
But that's the whole point of the. But that's the whole point of the medical profession, which is that you're supposed to be in the know, and legislators should be taking instruction from them. Yeah, if you're in the know, you know that you should be reducing someone's suffering. But I don't think this is a knowledge problem. This is a values problem. Yeah. Everyone knows, the people who make these laws, they know that there are ways to reduce pain. I know that you can't always completely control pain.
Daddy.
Interview? Yeah, I'm being interviewed. Yeah. It's not a knowledge problem though, it's a values problem. It's not that people don't know that there is ways to control pain, and also I know that you can't always completely control pain.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
It's about having a red line of taking life or preserving life, and I think medics, we have to be on the side of preserving life.
The next thing I would say to you is, okay, cool. So that's one thing. Okay, one thing just briefly on that. We're always told as children from an Islamic upbringing, if you see an animal in pain, put it out of its misery.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've had the same things or...
I don't think we're against veterinary medicine. Right. So if it's possible to preserve life, then you should. But if it's practically not feasible, I guess one could say that the idea of mercy killing, but that's for an animal.
Right.
And there is a sanctity to human life. If we're going to say that humans have as little sanctity than animals, then we're saying we're not going to treat humans any different to animals, which you could argue is what's happening. So I don't think we should be taking moral instruction from the way that we think about animals or insects. We should be considering that humans have an elevated position, and we need to be doing our best to preserve life.
There's also that saying, right, that there's not a disease that there hasn't been a cure, apart from death.
Yeah, and there are loads of things now which would have been intolerable in the past, but medical science has progressed, and it's now possible. Even things like the motor neuron diseases, within 50 years with Neuralinks and that kind of brain interface technology, it could be a very different world. It could be a very different experience for these people. But if you have a culture of euthanasia, then actually it constitutes the death of medicine, because it reduces the incentive for technological biotech companies and for medical companies to innovate to actually help people, because if they know that these demographics are essentially killed off.
Would you say that this is one of the driving forces for you to consistently obviously spend your time in research, in the field, in psychiatry?
Not in particular, to be honest. That's not my specific field of interest, but I think just on a humane level, I do try and do what little I can to advocate for this issue. But the Royal College of Psychiatry in the UK, they came out against the euthanasia laws in the UK.
Oh,
yeah, I was quite surprised as well, so good on them. As an individual psychiatrist, I can't do much. I think the government, our Labour government, pretty much made up its mind, to be honest. So.
Yeah, I was going to pause it there. Umar, thank you so much for your time.
Do you want to start again? I think you're walking back.
I'll edit it out. Umar, thank you so much for your time. There's so much I want to talk to you about. Closing remarks, you can just literally say a sentence about this. You told me off air that the way that the Quranic verse about embryology is understood is perhaps there's fine details to it that explain the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'd love to sit down and talk to you about that. Apparently you've got a book coming out about it.
Inshallah, if I actually push it out the door.
Yeah. And for you, I mean, we're from the same camp in this regard, but there is no
contradiction between science and religion. Yeah, and actually the Quran has so much material on science, which is so heartening to read, because it shows that the author of the Quran is the author of the universe. So as a Muslim and as an Ahmadi Muslim, I don't see a contradiction between those two things, and that really strengthens my faith, because it means I don't have to divide my brain in half, have a religious half and a scientific half, or a rational half and a religious half. You know, you can have them all together. Islam, Ahmadiyya, is that rational religion, you could say, that brings brings the mind and the heart together.
Umar Tahir's brainchild.
Under National Tabligh Department, so the outreach department of the UK. One of the platforms was called Rational Religion
logo, which was pretty cool.
Yes.
No, hey, thank you so much for your time. I hope we get to talk again.
So, thank you, bro. Sweet.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, different topic, but